Hello, you're watching VNA News and now headlines.
President Trương Tấn Sang meets Russia's first Deputy Prime Minister Ivanovich Shuvalov. Regional countries discuss measures to boost development in Lower Mekong region. State Bank of Vietnam adjusts US dollar exchange rate.
On December 15, President Trương Tấn Sang met with Russia's first Deputy Prime Minister Ivanovich Shuvalov in Hanoi.
President Sang spoke highly of the signing of a free trade agreement between Vietnam and the Eurasia Economic Union in May, which will open practical cooperation opportunities for both sides. Vietnam has completed procedures to ratify the document and hopes Russia will accelerate the approval and urge other member states to follow suit, he said. The Russian Deputy Prime Minister affirmed that he will do his best to conduct necessary procedures for the FTA between the Eurasia Economic Union and Vietnam to take effect soon. He said Vietnam's joining in the Trans-Pacific Partnership will facilitate economic and trade ties between Vietnam and Russia. He added the two countries are effectively implementing cooperation projects, particularly those in oil and gas and nuclear power.
Vietnam's National Assembly Chairman Nguyễn Sinh Hùng hosted a reception for Vice President of the Japanese House of Councillors Koichi Azuma in Hanoi on December 15th.
At the talks, Chairman Nguyễn Sinh Hùng affirmed Vietnam's Party, State and National Assembly always attach importance to fostering the friendship with Japan and will do their utmost to enhance cooperative relations between the two countries. He said he hopes the two parliaments will continue maintaining the close collaboration and support each other at regional and international legislative forums. He thanked Japan for its effective assistance to Vietnam during the process of industrialization, modernization, and national development. For his part, Vice President Koichi Azuma expressed his hope that the two national assemblies will enhance the exchange of visits by delegations, friendship parliamentarian groups, and deputies to share experience in legal building, while boosting people-to-people exchange. He pledged to make efforts to further bolster the Vietnam-Japan ties for new achievements in the time to come.
Regional countries and the ASEAN Secretariat convened in Hanoi on December 15th to discuss measures to boost the development of the Lower Mekong region.
The 8th Lower Mekong Initiative Regional Working Group meeting is meant to actualize the outcomes of the 8th Lower Mekong Initiative Ministerial meeting in Malaysia last August. Participants mulled over detailed projects and activities proposed by the group's member states and the US to implement an action plan for the next 5 years. Issues of sustainable environmental protection and gender equality were also the main topics of the meeting. Also put on table were coordination methods in implementing projects, mobilizing resources, as well as boosting the involvement of the private sector in the initiative cooperation. The two-day event is being held by the Vietnam Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the U.S. Department of State.
The Ministry of Labour, Work Invalidist and Social Affairs and the Plan International held a seminar in Hanoi on December 15 to share the results of a study on gender-based violence against prostitutes in the capital and experience in dealing with this issue.
According to the study conducted by the Institute for Social Development Studies, Hanoi is currently home to around 3,000 prostitutes, mainly migrants from other localities with low educational standard. Most of the prostitutes, aged from under 18 to 50, are victims of human trafficking, domestic violence, and sexual abuse. They have yet to gain access to programs supporting victims of gender-based violence, as there are few interference programs on violence dedicated to prostitutes. Participants at the seminar stressed the need to establish a mechanism and a hotline for prostitutes to voice violence-related issues facing them, and provide them with knowledge about law, human rights, and violence prevention through training courses.
The The State Bank of Vietnam adjusted the reference exchange rate between the Vietnamese dong and the US dollar up by 90 Vietnam dong on the morning of December 15. More details in the following report.
The reference buying rate rose from 21,800 dong to 21,890 dong per $1, and the selling rate 22,575 dong per $1. Accordingly, many commercial banks also raised their ceiling rate to the ceiling allowed by the State Bank of Vietnam and increased the buying rate at the same time. The Joint Stock Commercial Bank for Foreign Trade of Vietnam posted its US dollar buying and selling prices at 22,540 and 22,547 dong, while the Bank for Investment and Development of Vietnam is transacting at 22,517 and 22,547 dong per $1. Meanwhile, the Vietnam Technological and Commercial Joint Stock Bank set the buying and selling rates at 22,460 and 22,547 dong per $1. The interbank exchange rate between the two currencies set by the State Bank of Vietnam is now at 21,890 dong, with commercial banks allowed to adjust their rates at an amplitude of plus or minus 3%. With the adjustment, the new selling rate applied at commercial banks has touched the ceiling exchange rate of 22,547 dong per $1.
The Vietnamese coffee industry is focusing more on processing instant coffee, which generates higher profits for the national coffee sector.
The coffee harvest in Vietnam, the world's second largest producer after Brazil, runs from October this year to September the following year. Instant coffee factories has sprouted in the country as both domestic and foreign businesses has poured into the sector. Both domestic coffee suppliers and foreign-funded growers had zealously expanded investment in their instant coffee processing plants and had enhanced the quality of their coffee products to expand markets. These plants consumed large volumes of coffee beans and boosted instant coffee exports. According to a report by the Vietnam Coffee and Cocoa Association, the volume of instant coffee exports in 2014 reached about 54,000 tons, accounting for 3.2% of the total export quantity, with revenues of nearly $274 million that account for 7.7% of the total turnover. By the end of 2015, the volume of instant coffee exports could increase by 25% year-on-year, the association said. 1 kilogram of raw coffee beans was sold at only about $2, while 1 kilogram of instant coffee cost about $10, elevating instant coffee as a high value-added product for export and domestic consumption.
Ho Chi Minh City's Human Resource Forecast and Labor Market Information Center reported that there will be 270,000 jobs available in the city next year, half of them new ones. More details coming up next.
The vacant jobs will be mostly in sectors like information technology, mechanical engineering, import-export warehousing and transportation, garment and textiles, leather and footwear, tourism services, hospitality, finance, credit, banking, healthcare, education and vocational training, translation and interpretation. Amid Vietnam's economic integration through accession to the Trans-Pacific Partnership and the ASEAN Economic Community and its signing of free trade agreements, the economy is growing and creating more jobs. Next year, the job market will require quality, trained professionals who can meet the needs of foreign companies in Vietnam and abroad. Trần Anh Tuấn, Deputy Director of the Center, said professional skills that are accepted across the ASEAN Economic Community will be the foundation for the movement of workers within ASEAN and around the world, and this will be a challenge for Vietnamese workers.
9 border gate economic zones have been chosen by the Prime Minister to get investments sourced from the state budget for development during the 2016 to 2020.
Those border gate economic zones are Móng Cái, Đồng Đăng, Lào Cai, Cao Bằng in the north, Cầu Treo, Cha Lo and Lao Bảo in the central, Mộc Bài and An Giang in the south. The Prime Minister said that 70% of the total budget allocated for border gate economic zones in annual and 2016-2020 plans should be focused on these 9 border gate economic zones. The Ministry of Planning and Investment will coordinate with the Ministry of Finance to build annual and 5-year plans on allocating the budget to the border gate economic zones as regulated with priorities on urgent projects. The ministry was assigned to supervise the use of investment capital from the state budget from 2016 to 2020 for the selected key border gate economic zones and report any problems that may arise to the Prime Minister. Provinces and centrally governed cities were asked to give investments priority to selected key border gate economic zones and utilize budget effectively as regulated, while calling on localities to seek other resources for infrastructure projects.
The Vietnam National Administration of Tourism and the national flag carrier Vietnam Airlines have held a seminar in Hong Kong to promote the country's tourism in the territory. Our correspondents bring you more details.
The event on December 14 drew the participation of representatives from 34 local businesses operating in the field, including Hồng Thái Travel, Wing Yon Travel, and Juji.com. Deputy Director of the Vietnam National Administration of Tourism Ha Văn Siêu said Hong Kong is one of the biggest transit destinations and tourism centers in the region. In recent years, Vietnam has seen an increasing number of foreign tourists, including not only those from Hong Kong, but also from other countries traveling to Vietnam via the territory. In the first 9 months of this year, international airlines served more than 7 million passengers between Hong Kong and Vietnam. He also introduced a number of policies to attract tourists, including regulations on visa exemptions aimed at making it easier for foreign tourists to visit the country. A representative of Vietnam Airlines spoke of the carrier's fleet and air routes, as well as its services and promotions for customers from Hong Kong to Vietnam. Vietnam's top tourist destinations and products were also presented at the event.
The 6th Đà Lạt Flower Festival will open on December 29th with a ceremony imbued with culture of the Central Highlands, according to the organizing board.
A flower carnival, a space of flowers, a vegetable flower fair, and a science conference on flowers will be the highlights of the biannual festival. The event is themed Đà Lạt, Multitude of Flowers Colors. It will run through January 2nd in Đà Lạt City, the Central Highlands province of Lâm Đồng. A vivid exhibition of tea, coffee, wine, and other local delicacies will take place as part of the event. Visitors can taste the city's flavors while pursuing a flower-themed calligraphy, painting, and photography displays. For the first time in the festival's history, there will be a gala night for local flower raisers on January the 1st, which is dedicated to individuals and agencies involved in developing the local flower industry. Different from previous events, this year the organizing board encourages more involvement of individuals and agencies instead of just local authorities. 19 out of 28 programs in the festival will be carried out by local individuals and businesses. Đà Lạt expects to welcome about 500,000 visitors during the festival.
And that has wrapped up our news bulletin. Thanks for joining us, and goodbye for now.